Hey everybody, this is James,
Marco,
Nabil,
and Mikey.
And this is the Movie Pals podcast number 197. Today we are doing a double feature review of The Accountant and The Accountant 2. So without further ado, let's get into it.
It wouldn't surprise me if he has more in common with Einstein, Mozart, and Picasso than he does with us. He has highly advanced cognitive skills. The obsessive personality.
Can our son lead a normal life?
Define normal. Maybe he's capable of much more than we know.
So The Accountant from 2016, this is sitting at a 53% on Rotten Tomatoes. The description is, Christian Wolff is a brilliant but socially isolated math savant who works as a freelance accountant for dangerous criminal organizations. While taking on a legitimate client to stay under the radar, he uncovers a massive financial discrepancy that puts both his life and others at risk. As government agents close in, Christian uses his highly trained combat skills to protect himself and uncover the truth. This was directed by Gavin O'Connor, who also directed Miracle in 2004, Pride and Glory in 2008, and Warrior in 2011. All right, so this is written by Dill Dubuque, who wrote The Judge in 2014, A Family Man in 2016. And his actually biggest claim to fame is he is the creator of Ozark, the series.
Fantastic series.
I've heard. So this is released on October 14th, 2016, with a budget of $44 million. This made $155.2 million. So this was a box office pretty modest success. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah. This stars Ben Affleck as Christian Wolff / The Accountant, Anna Kendrick as Dana Cummings, J.K. Simmons as Raymond King, John Bernthal as Braxton, Cynthia Ade Robinson as Mary Beth Medina, Jeffrey Tambor as Francis Silverberg, John Lithgow as Lamar Blackburn, and then Jean Smart is Rita Blackburn, Lamar's sister. So let's start with our history of this one, guys. I want to start with you, Marco. What's your history with The Accountant? I understand me, Marco, and Mikey, sorry, the proper grammar. Mikey, Marco, and I have all seen this before. This is the first time watch from the bill. But Marco, when did you first see The Accountant?
I saw it, I want to say a year or so after it came out. I don't think I saw it when it first came out.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly, because it's been almost 10 years, I saw it on streaming, like on Netflix, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it was on that or something. Maybe even Prime. I've even been on Prime.
Maybe Prime. One of those two. But I originally saw it on streaming out of sheer curiosity. And I think that was the only time I had ever seen it leading up to the podcast.
Just a one-time watch. What did you think at the time, by the way? Just without, you don't have to break it into now, obviously. But
I thought it was decent. I know I got a bad rap for being boring, and it is a slow burn at first, but I think it has a solid payoff towards the end. I think that the twists in the movie definitely help with the story, but I can see why some people would be turned off from it because of the fact that there is a lot of setup and build up, not much character development really. I mean, maybe a little bit for the accountant himself, but yeah, it's just a lot of filler and build up leading up to the end.
Okay. What about you, Mikey?
Almost the same. I don't think I saw it on streaming. I think I rented it. So, but I didn't see it in theaters or anything like that. But I watched it once. I don't remember liking this one that much. I thought it was kind of boring, but just wasn't getting into it. So I was happy that we're going to get to watch it again because you guys were talking about before you started watching again, kind of got me interested in it, kind of piqued my interest a little bit.
Okay. What about you, Nabil? So this is your first time watch. So you never piqued your interest at all?
No, it was, for some reason, this film always, and I think it's off of the poster, it always just kind of reminded me of that film, The Adjustment Bureau, a Matt Damon film. But the poster always just kind of reminded me of it. I was like, it's probably just like the same thing, so I don't really need to see this. I never really knew much about it, but I just like, he's probably some kind of assassin or something like that is what it kind of gave vibes off of. And so I was like, it never piqued my interest.
That's weird. I would have thought this would have been this almost seems like right up your alley.
You would think so, right? And that's why
I almost feel like I was like,
it's waited so long to watch.
I thought you had seen this before, and I'm like, someone told me to watch this movie. That's why I thought it was you.
Well, if I did, I did it purely off of the vibes. It's like, you know what, James, you might like this. Why don't you check it out?
He's
For
like,
me?
it's Ben Affleck. He has a rifle. Look at him.
Right.
And I want to say I saw it because of you guys.
I think I told you guys about it. I didn't see it until I have it. For the last 10 years, I have like written down when I watch things. So I saw it apparently in like June of 2018. So almost like a year and a half later. And I looked it up. It wasn't streaming anywhere. So I bought the movie. So because I've had it for a while at this point. So it was probably really cheap on HD movie codes or something. I can only imagine that's the reason why I picked it up.
You might have gone down one of those rabbit holes you go to for like maybe you saw.
I don't know what this would connect to. There's no way.
Saw a lot of Ben Affleck films suddenly. Went through that.
Maybe
Some random one.
That's the only thing I can think of.
No, I mean, this was probably on my like watch list for a long time.
Mm.
I think I probably found it just for a really good deal where it was like $10 or less. And I was probably like, screw it.
Oh, that's true.
And I remember at the time, even then, like I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was terrible. I don't think it was like a 53%. Like I consider that pretty bad.
Yeah.
It has aspects of it that I liked. Yeah. I think you gotta this is definitely, I call these like dad movies. These are one of those like dad movies where like it has just enough action and stuff that kind of just like distracts you enough to be like, oh, it's pretty cool. It's cool action. So like you don't really got to think too much on these.
You remember the action scenes. You don't really remember much of the other ones.
I mean, it is funny what my dad said while watching this movie with me. I watched it with him and my mom, and my dad had some comments. I don't think he picked up on it, but he actually enjoyed it quite a bit. So let's jump into what we think about it now. So Nabil, first time watch, what did you think about The Accountant then?
It was all right. You know, it's basically it is a slow burn. There are some good action scenes, especially at the end. And I really think that there's a story here on the character, but I just don't feel like we got the full, there wasn't as strong of a payoff for me as far as how the story is being told. I feel like there's another pass, a stronger writer, something, there could be something here that could make it a little better. But the story I felt like was just a bit mid. But I did like aspects of the character, and I liked some of the action scenes were really, especially the ending. I really liked that ending action scene.
Yeah, that's probably the most intense of them all, I would say.
Yeah.
What about you, Mikey?
I kind of echo a little bit of what he said. I like what they did with Ben Affleck's character, with the accountant. You don't really get a lot of build up on the other characters. They're just there to kind of help him. But the flashbacks that they did and like the little tiny interactions he has with the people kind of builds on, you know, his condition and everything he really does with the character. It does it pretty well, and it's pretty subtle. So you kind of have to pay attention a little bit. But overall, I thought the movie was decent. It's nothing special, but it's not bad either. And there's some things that are kind of
crazy though that this did so well. By the way, like in theaters, I was like, was I just not in on this? Like, apparently, a lot more people saw this than I thought.
It's a simple, easy to follow story.
It doesn't just say Mark. Everyone 50 years old. Let's check them out.
Really, it's the pacing, because it moves at a nice pace where it's not too fast. Maybe it's a little too slow at the beginning.
A little bit.
It starts to pick up.
That's even what my dad said. He's like, it starts out slow, but after, you know, he said as soon as he gets to the scene where he starts like writing on the window, like it picks up.
Yeah.
And I was like, pretty much.
Is good. It's not too fast paced like it is like a John Wick movie where it's moving, you blink and you miss like a move. Yeah. Everything is well calculated. And I think that caters to a broader audience, or I guess, like you said, dad movie.
Yeah, a little bit. What did you think then, Marco? Overall, I know you're talking a bit about it now, but
I did enjoy it. Truthfully, revisiting it too helped me realize that I did enjoy it overall. I don't think it was great. I think it's good. It's one of those, you kick back, you watch The Accountant. Like these guys were saying, you don't really have to pay attention much. I do think that the flashbacks help flesh out the character. That's what I was saying. Really, the beginning is all set up and just sort of explaining, oh, this is why he can do all this crazy stuff, and he's an accountant. Mm-hmm. I don't think you needed as much as it showed, but I still think it was cool. A lot of movies don't do that these days. They just sort of talk at you rather than show you through exposition. So I did appreciate that it did that.
I agree with you guys too. It's not, I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's great. I think it's just right there in the middle. I had an enjoyable time rewatching it for the most time, or I would say even entertaining. It has its moments. I think Ben Affleck does pretty well. It takes a little bit of time to kind of get used to his character, at least in my opinion. Like I kind of had to, I don't know how to say it, like just understand like where he's coming from, and then you kind of just go from it there with the background, especially.
It's one of those movies too where you have to suspend disbelief a bit.
Yeah,
There's some things that are just sort of a little too silly, like the
Yeah,
name of
and
his
I mean,
accountant firm,
well-
ZZZ Accounting.
yeah. I mean, there's a
Things like
it's
that.
almost, and the fact all his names are based on like autistic, like famous people, right? And it's like, oh,
Mathematicians, yeah.
Lewis Carroll, right? Oh yeah, mathematicians.
That-
Well,
It reminded me of The Saint for some reason. Where
I had some of that vibe. Yeah.
I recently watched that movie, so that's why
Mhm.
I thought that, because instead of names of saints, it's names of people who are good at math.
I think though there's like a lot of characters in here that just aren't used as well, especially like Anna Kendrick's character. I don't think Anna Kendrick's character in particular does a good job, or like they don't kind of flesh her out enough. She almost could
doesn't
have been
add anything.
removed from the movie, honestly. I
Yeah.
mean, I get why they added her because they needed kind of a damsel in distress, but also someone that is from that company that maybe is the reason why some things are happening, why they're happening.
Yeah, I saw why they put her in there, but I feel like she was being used as a crutch for the story. I honestly think it would have been better if they focused more on John Barenthal's character and Braxton, and just kind of, if they focused on like splitting, like doing the split view of both the brothers and where they ended up. I feel that would have fleshed out more.
It's more
Then-
interesting. They give little hints of it, obviously.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's almost like, because honestly, like Christian and Dana don't really even have like a romantic link at all,
No,
honestly.
I don't know.
So it's kind of
I
like,
think they're trying to portray that though,
were
a little
they? I don't,
because he's like really forcing himself to go save her, and the person on the other side, the person on the phone, is like, "No, you don't need to do that," and he's doing it anyways. So I feel like
thought
he
he just
does
was
have a
doing it
connection
'cause
with her.
he-
At least they tried it.
I don't know. I felt like he was just doing it because he was like, that's the right thing to do because she's in
That's
danger.
kind of how I feel. I think they were
Yeah, I
trying to
agree with
show that he's a
Mikey.
good person.
I agree with Mikey. It did feel like there was some romantic chemistry there,
Was
but
there?
because of his lifestyle, it feels like he didn't want to involve her in his lifestyle.
Yeah, like the
don't
part
know.
where you kind of mentioned the scene beforehand, but when he's writing on the windows, and she comes in and he's explaining the stuff, and she's like getting super interested into it. And so I
Maybe
think
just
they
because
they
she
have a few
understands
scenes like
him.
that where they connect a little bit. So I feel like
Yeah.
they were trying to portray that they had some
But
kind of thing.
Maybe, but I didn't ever feel like it was romantic at all.
I agree with you, James. I feel like they had a little thing in the hotel, but otherwise it wasn't really a strong romantic connection.
Let's look at the pay. So we talked about the plot a bit here. Did you think it had? I know it does start out a little slow for the most part, right? But then as soon as the financials pop up, right, where they notice some things don't match here, right? It really picks up the pace. What did you guys? I'll ask Nabil this one since it's your first time watching it. Did you think that pace of the whole story worked with the mix in with action?
I think that it was trying to put a lot in one place. They were doing a slow buildup of revealing this mysterious accountant and his kind of secret life. And then they also had these weird, like, comedic things that were, like, very dry, which is fine. But it just seemed like there's a scene
What
where
was
they're in a
comedic to
barn.
you?
Well, there was a scene in the barn where the assassin or whatever comes and attacks him while he's on that family's farm. And at the very end, after he does everything, he sees them in the car and they're freaked out after seeing so many people die. And he just kind of smiles and walks away. And that was definitely meant to be a comedic effect. I'm like, this seems so out of nowhere, but okay. Like, that's
Well, I
funny.
mean, he's okay.
Yeah, and like we never see that couple again. Like, okay, they were just traumatized, and
That was
you know,
his
Yeah, I didn't see that as a funny moment though. I felt like he was doing that awkwardly, right?
I mean, it was awkward. Of course, it was because he's autistic.
I was
but also-
dying.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know if it was intended to be funny. I felt it as like I agree with Mikey. It was more just because he's like he doesn't know how to like end
He doesn't know how
things
to
with
process
people.
it.
Yeah.
So he's
He doesn't
probably
know
like,
how to
okay, well,
emote.
thanks for letting me come by, and sorry about that. And then he just like,
Yeah, just think so. But see, that to me, I feel like there was a little bit of a weird tone shift where they were going in, building up a mysterious character, talking about his background. They jump into some action scenes. He is awkward in a general sense because he's autistic, but at the same time, I think that they just couldn't focus enough on one thing to give it enough room to breathe. They just wanted you to kind of get a feel of all these things at once. And I don't know, that was part of my issue, was like where the story was going and how they were trying to put things in. It's just a lot, and they didn't stick with the same tone. So.
Yeah, it's like they were trying to go for a shock that this accountant knows how to fight and how to kill people, and it was trying to go for that shock factor, but it just didn't land right. I kind of agree there. It was sort of awkward.
Okay. What did you think? I know you talked about pace earlier, though, Marco. Did you have an issue with how the pace was presented out?
The first time around I did. It was a struggle to get through like the first 30 minutes of the movie. I'm like, where is this going?
Mm-hmm.
Really? But I think going into it now and being familiar with the plot, it actually sort of helped, knowing that, okay, they're going to go over his background, how he trained.
Did it kind of come back to you a little bit?
Yeah. I think it helped having that previous knowledge, but I can see how for first time watch, it is a struggle to get through it, but I appreciate it a little bit more this time around. I think specifically because I tend to notice a lot of movies these days just sort of like I said, talk at you, but this one sort of took the time to show you. Yeah, this one had the opposite effect. It sort of overstayed its welcome with how much it kept showing in the background.
Slightly, I would say, yeah.
I agree with one other thing too. I think Bill said it, or Mikey, that they don't really focus too much on Braxton. I think John Bernthal is really underutilized in this movie, and rather than using too much of the time for the flashbacks, they could have done a little bit more split time between Braxton and his brother, and I think that would have worked a little better.
Would that have messed up the ending, though? Like the punch they give you at the end?
Yeah, but it's already a little bit. Yeah.
True, but I mean, just the modern stuff, just showing him, going through his actions.
His job.
And it would look like it's just his adversary, like this guy's the opposite of him.
Yeah. But even what like James was saying earlier, they kind of already are hinting it. Like they're dropping those seeds throughout with those flashbacks of like, he may be this other person. Because otherwise, why are you focusing on this random person? Like what is the point of him being there when he has nothing to do with the
when I
plot?
first saw this, I had no idea that was his brother. Honestly, it's not until I think the only hints they really drop is near the end of the movie where he's asking, because he's like, wait, what does he do? And then he's like, wait, does he have hair like me or like someone else? Right? Because he's like, what does this guy look like?
All right.
And truthfully, with a almost 10-year gap, I almost damn near forgot about it too. Again. So.
Really? I remember because I remember that was a big twist. I was like, okay. I remember.
They also ruined it in the trailer for the accountant too, if you'd never seen
the first one. Oh, yeah. If you watched
the trailer for the second one, yeah.
I thought about that. Yeah. So did you already have it ruined then, Nabil?
Yeah, because I saw the trailer.
I'm sorry, man.
I didn't realize it was
I didn't even think about that.
Damn.
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute, that guy survives. Why are they helping each other now? Right. This doesn't make no sense.
Well, they even have the announcer guy like ask or like say, and he brought his brother along.
Yeah.
So I mean, they physically even say it.
He's like, wait, that's his brother?
Do you remember his brother from the first movie?
Oops, spoiler alert. You've had 9 years to watch this first one, so sorry. We're jumping right into it. Didn't think they focused enough on Braxton in the first film? Guess what? We fixed that problem. Da, da, da. Right?
Double the Braxton, double the power.
Anyways, so with the flashbacks, Mikey, we'll just keep with you here. Did you like the flashbacks this time around, watching them, kind of showing his childhood, showing like his prison time, which I don't think they touch upon as much as they really should have. That one I would have, him and his scenes with Jeffrey Tambor, I would have liked a little more of those two, personally. But what did you think, Mikey?
I actually like the flashbacks. I know the other two guys were saying they need less of them, but I actually like it because it builds up on like how he grew up with his condition, with the way he is, and how he's handling it, what his father put him through to make him the way he is now to be like basically a fully functional person, but that's a little awkward.
Yeah,
if you didn't really know he was kind of off.
You didn't know he was blaring music and the lights.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you didn't know any of that stuff was happening, and a regular person just walked by, you wouldn't really know that he was autistic, right? So
I think that's the whole purpose of it all.
Yeah, right? It's really interesting what they did with it. I like that, and again, I see what you guys are saying. They drop hints and stuff here, but I think they held a lot of information back from the first half of the movie, so they could have a bigger impact at the end. And these flashbacks filled in the gaps a little bit for that, kind of just taking you away from the story a little bit. So I kind of like where it is now, rather than showing more Braxton or something like that. nature.
Yeah, and they show a lot of those flashbacks, especially like the scenes where he's training them, quote unquote training them. Where I guess he's in Thailand or something, and he's
Yeah.
an Asian man teaching them how to get their ass beat or something. And they're in like
And James got Cobra Kai flashbacks.
briefly, bro. And then when they're in the Eastern Bloc with the rain, and then he's like, kind of shows you like, okay, handle it first, but then it shows that his brother's always there to protect him, right? I really like that scene, actually. Let's look at the characters here. Nabil, I want to ask you, so with the accountant, did you buy the whole, Christian Wolf being autistic? Was that unique to you at all? Was that like...
Yeah, I thought that's actually probably the most interesting part of this film is Ben Affleck's character. And even to like Mikey's point about seeing more of the flashbacks, I did enjoy getting to learn more about him and how he became who he was. That was all very well done. I feel like they put in a little story in the middle of the whole Lamar Blackburn situation and robotics. Like they needed to put a mystery in there, but I feel like we could have just taken that out and led it into some. There would have been a better way for a plot device to get him to where they
could have just been the FBI or whatever, the people chasing him down, the government.
Yeah, because they were even
that's called enemy of the state. But I mean,
they were always just like a few pieces of the story removed to get in touch with him. Like they never actually see him in this film. So yeah, I think that would have been, you're right. Like it could have been just he's just a few steps ahead of them at every point of the way. But yeah, I think Ben Affleck was good. I liked the story. Again, I liked the relationships that they were showing with his family. I really liked the flashback about when his mother died and like what happened in that situation. Like it was really sad to see that, what he went through and how he ended up going to jail. And to your point, James, like probably would have been even better to see him more with Jeffrey Tambor to be able to really see why that relationship was so important to him when he does eventually escape.
It's pretty crucial actually, because he's the one that kind of tells him like what to do.
Yeah. And like it's a turning point, right, for his life and where he's going. So all that was really solid. It was the filler that was throwing things off and like, why is this here? We don't need any of this, like this character is interesting enough.
Because in 2016, Anna Kendrick was hot right there. That's why you had to have somebody else in the film. What are you crazy, Nabil?
Had to put her in right now.
Nowadays, it would have been Sydney Sweeney or something. Like, hey, look, it's the it girl now. Yeah. Remember, this girl was in Pitch Perfect. Yeah, we got her. What about you, Marco? What did you think about Ben Affleck overall?
I think he did great, man. Like Nabil was saying, I think he did a good job showing, that he was autistic and how his training helped him hone in his skills and his condition a little more, albeit a little too extreme. And they even mentioned that too later down the line with him and his brother, saying that the training that their dad gave him was just intense.
Too much, yeah.
And I'll circle back to this later, but there is a point or a little side storyline that showcases that they could have honed in their skills in a much different way than their dad was showing them. But overall,
I think going with that, yeah.
Yeah, but overall, it was cool to kind of see his progression from his childhood to when he was an adult and going to jail. I do understand why they did show that relationship between him and the guy in jail, Jeffrey Tambor's character Francis. He's in jail. He's got no future. Basically, his life's fucked. His military career is tarnished. So it only makes sense that he meets a crooked accountant that's like, well, hey, I have something I can pass along to you that could be lucrative to you when you get out. So I think even though it wasn't explained that well, I sort of caught on to that and thought, well, okay, that's why they're showing this. This is how he got his connections and how he got into that life, I guess. But overall, Affleck did a great job. For me, I think it was a believable performance.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to be able to fully grasp the concept of it all, but I mean, he put his time in. I know he went to vocational schools to study and talk with autistic people. He did like a lot of research, so he was trying to be legit with it, not just phone it in like some of the like a random 80s comedy or something, where they're just like, that's what I think it is. I don't know. Let's just go. So, Mikey, I want to ask you, there's not much do you have anything on Dana, by the way? I want to ask you that first.
I mean, she was sufficient with what they gave her, but they just didn't give her a lot to work with.
Cool. So what about Braxton?
I mean, I like Braxton. You guys kind of mentioned it beforehand, but he's kind of like the protector. And I like how they kind of use him towards the end, have his confusing point. I think that's like a really key aspect of the whole movie at the ending, because he's like, who is this guy? Like, am I going to go up against my brother? And you don't at the time know he's your brother, the brother, right? So, but he's like, oh shit, like this is happening, and he's kind of like, man, I don't know what I'm going to deal with. I don't know how to handle this situation. And he took that pretty well, and the whole flashback part kind of builds on that a little bit. And I think they didn't do too much more with that character. I do see what you guys are saying. They could have done more with it, but I don't think they needed to do more within what they had, and he did well with what he got.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. Well, what about Raymond and Mary Beth?
Yeah, I mean, they got J.K. Simmons, which he's great.
He's always good, yeah.
But yeah, especially in like 2016, in the more recent films he's been doing, he's just kind of a bit player. But 2016, he was pretty active still, so I feel like they could have used him
around
more.
That Whiplash era, yeah.
Yeah, like there was just like with John Barenthal, I feel like J.K. Simmons underutilized. To be honest, they could have used him a lot more. They didn't really need Mary Beth's character, but she was there.
It is funny that he technically already knows all the.
Yeah, like,
he already knows all the answers to everything. He just want to make sure you're not snitch.
Yeah, basically, I mean that's basically what it is, right? Like he knows everything, and he just has her to double verify to find out who it is. And
just want to see if you can figure it out.
Yeah, her character made no sense whatsoever.
It made no sense.
Like,
she's just there at all. She's the person that's supposed to be like the white knight. Like, what do you mean? This is bad.
And he's kind of blackmailing her, saying that you've got to do this, otherwise your career and life is over. It's like
he shows her that tattoo she's got. He's like, what kind of pistol is that? Thought of Marco. I don't know why during that scene.
I took it as him wanting to make her his protege and take over because he's pretty close to retiring, and he's like,
it has to be someone that can solve it, though, right, Marco?
Yeah. Like someone who can solve it, someone he can trust, and in his twisted mind, the only way that you could trust someone is to blackmail them. So.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like
he has to be like, in case she's not in on it, he's like, I gotta have a backup plan. Like, well, if you ever tell anybody, I'll ruin your life, right?
Yeah, basically.
I mean, that's kind of what happened. Yeah, that was
pretty
his
much
ultimatum to her. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about this. It's kind of like a test, right? He's testing her to see if he's a replacement.
I didn't think about that. Do you like puzzles in the beginning?
Yeah.
So he wants to see if she can figure it out because, like, yeah, actually, the reason why I've been so successful, pretty much got a cheat sheet. Somebody keeps telling me all these things. I got the. He's like, I call him the X-Men. So,
I mean, yeah.
So then I'll finish it out with you, and then Marco. What did you think about Lamar?
Underutilized. Also, John Lithgow is a talented actor. He did good with what he had, truthfully, but overall, he's just sort of a random throwaway villain. Just someone that they could kind of focus on and say, haha, he's the villain.
Yeah.
It is sort of suspicious that he's the guy. They sort of clue you in.
I mean, he's a little too almost immediately, right? You're like,
he's a little too concerned,
Yeah.
He's like, oh, my friend, they killed my best friend.
Here's your check. Get out of here now. As he winks at the camera.
Well, they do the red herring thing where they have 3 different suspects. It starts with the CFO to the sister to him. Like, why?
He ends up being the villain. It's sort of kind of an about face to a point. He doesn't really seem like the type of guy that's like, yeah, kill this guy. And then at the end, he's just full comic book villain. Kill him, shoot him.
And it's because he starts it out, but like, I'm not in it for the money, and all this stuff. And like, yes, you are.
Well, his motivation was like he wanted to go public, right? But it's like, you've got all these murders of high-profile people in your company. You think people want to invest in your company right now? Like, it seems like it's not the appropriate way to go about this.
It's the lower stock point, and then more people will invest in it.
The irony is he didn't have to do all this to go public. Every company lies before they go public in order to look more valuable. You're sort of supposed to, and then the money starts racking in and adds to that fucking value. And I'm like, dude, you didn't fucking know this?
Yeah.
Serious?
It seemed odd. Yeah.
He's like, I gotta start killing people and start freaking fluffing the numbers.
If he was saying he didn't want to go public and keep it private, I'd be like, okay, because everybody else wants it to go public.
Yeah.
So that's why the motivation makes sense to me.
Amazon was in debt the first 10 years it was in business. It just wasn't making money until eventually it got its full model going, and then it became highly profitable. Like every major company goes through that. It's like, I did not understand his motivation. Truthfully, it was stupid.
Yeah. I mean,
but again,
once again, like we
gotta
said,
turn off your brain.
It's just added in to be like, oh, it's a mystery. Look, Mikey, what do you think about the overall action in the movie, though?
I liked it. I mean, it's kind of sparingly throughout the movie.
I wouldn't even say it's not super action heavy.
Yeah, it's definitely not. But the ending scene is fantastic. That the whole montage of stuff that happens is great.
Just one man army to it, pretty much.
Yeah, basically, right? I mean, it's really well shot. It's really, it shows what they could do with the movie and with the characters. I like the flashback fighting scene where they're in the rain and he's like sending the people to the bullies. Yeah, the one you mentioned earlier. That was, it's a different style of action on that one there. But
that's to kind of show you too, like the brothers are pretty connected.
Yeah.
Anything stand up for you with action wise, Nabil, for your first time watch?
I mean, I like the fighting for sure, but I will say I really like the look of the film. As soon as I started watching it, it reminded me of like a late 90s, early 2000s kind of action film. Like the film itself had that kind of grid view, kind of like The Bourne Identity or something like that. It just
does, yeah. It's got that kind of.
It has that feeling for a 2016 film too. It seemed odd, but I think that added a lot more like groundedness for it, of feeling like it's supposed to be a bit more real and set in reality. So I liked the look of it, and I liked how they shot those scenes where it wasn't too overly, like we were saying earlier, like it's not too John Wicky, but he's not like a super spy like Jason Bourne, but he does have skills, and he obviously, especially at the end, he can take out a whole army of mercenaries, no problem.
Mercenaries,
yeah. So but it added that whatever they did with the cinematography and how they were shooting the film, I liked what they did there. It really gave it a unique look.
Yeah. What about the ending of the film with the Braxton reveal that his brother, and guess how it kind of overall ends with Dana becoming, I don't know, she gets free. No, she's not really taken captive or anything, but she lives her life on, gets the painting, blah, blah, right? And then the kind of drives off. But what did you feel about that in the Braxton reveal?
I liked it, man. Again, I had forgotten about it because it was been almost 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of nice to be shocked for the second time to a point. It worked,
Marco said, no way.
And it made sense because from the very beginning, it established they were brothers. They both grew up the same way. They trained the same way. And you're kind of wondering, like, where is this going? And it sort of does clue in, like, that assassin guy might very well be his brother. And I like when, like you said, that the accountant starts, saying his rhyme, Solomon Grundy, died on a Monday. And then Braxton realizes, is that Christian? I like when he tells Christian, I looked for you. That line kind of hit, especially if you have a really close relationship with your brother or your sibling. I think it worked, even though, again, Braxton didn't have much screen time as much as Christian did. I think it still worked because of the flashbacks. I guess in a way they sort of do work in this. You have that established history. You see they grew up together, and then they've been separated for so long, according to him.
Since
I think it still worked out. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. But I think it worked out, in the end. Ultimately, it's your brother, you're going to choose to help your brother. There's technically two twists, really, because the person who also gives Christian the missions turns out to be his friend, his childhood friend from the gifted center he almost went to. And I actually really like that, too. And I felt that made a really perfect ending, full circle. He started off there. He ends up sort of back there in a way. And the fact that all the donations that center is getting is coming from Christian and his work.
He makes an inordinate amount of fucking money. That's why too. It's like insane but how much money he makes.
It shows that he believes in that, and he's like, this is the right way, the proper treatment for these kids to be able to establish their skills, and maybe not the over the top way that my dad did for me. So I did like that.
It also plays on a little bit of autism and how it actually is. Because a lot of people see it as a negative, right? And they kind of play it as they are specialized thought processes, right? They kind of have this ability to kind of process things a little differently than everybody else, and they don't portray it as a negative. They portray it as a positive. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of nice that they kind of took that spin. Not really a spin, that's how it really is, but they kind of took that angle on things. Unlike most movies that you would see, they kind of portray it as mostly a negative.
All right, awesome. Yeah. So what are you guys, let's get into the ratings here, and if we'd recommend these. Any final thoughts as well? Nabil, start with you. First time watch. What did you rate The Accountant, and would you recommend it?
I gave this 3 stars. No, not really. It's fine, but I don't know if you necessarily like you're not missing out on anything if you don't see the film, to be honest. So it's got its moments, but I wasn't anything that I'd want to go back and revisit.
Okay, Marco.
I also give it 3 stars, but I think it's worth a watch, truthfully, especially if you're a fan of Ben Affleck's work. If you're a fan of these type of movies, I think it's worth a watch.
Mikey.
I also gave this one 3 stars, and I would say give this one a watch. I told my parents to watch it after I watched it again. I liked it better the second time I watched it. So I told them to watch it, and they watched it when I watched part 2, and they liked it a lot. So go ahead, give it a whirl. It's on streaming now too, so it's really not.
Yeah, it's on Max right now.
Max, yeah.
Really, right? Yeah. And I give it 3 stars too, guys. Like I said, it's middle of the road. Unlike Nabil, though, I would still say I think it's worth a watch. My parents really enjoyed it, so I think if you're in that crowd, you know who you are. Like, it's gonna hit really well for you if you really
Great dad film.
Great dad. This is 100% a DAD film, so that is why. So, but overall, I think it's enjoyable. So it's one of those movies. Like, honestly, I probably wouldn't have revisited it as soon as I have now, just because it's one of those things where I didn't realize, the sequel is going to be coming out. But that's really why we jumped on it. But overall, not bad. So let's move on now to our review of The Accountant 2.
Well, how does this all connect?
Most brains seek a pattern that's familiar. My brain doesn't work that way.
Braxton? It's me, your brother. Can you be in California in 24 hours?
How about just call it? How have you been? Merry Christmas. Happy birthday.
But it's not your birthday. Birthday's November 11th.
Unbelievable.
Was your brother up to speed on the case?
So it's been a minute.
Braxton, thank you for coming. I'm really glad you're here.
Did she tell you to say that?
Yeah.
Okay, The Accountant 2 is currently sitting at 78% on Rotten Tomatoes as of whenever the pod started. And the synopsis is Christian Wolff applies his brilliant mind and illegal methods to reconstruct the unsolved puzzle of a Treasury chief's murder. The director and writer both came back for this one, so Gavin O'Connor and Bill Dubuque. This was released on April 25th of 2025, had a budget of $80 million, and I believe I checked right before we started this. I believe it's at $44 million worldwide right now. So who knows? Maybe it's success, maybe not, but probably not.
I just did not think Star Wars Episode 3 was going to be coming out the week they released their movie. Again.
Most of the cast is returning, so it stars Ben Affleck as Christian Wolff, or the accountant, John Bernthal as Braxton, Cynthia Adaya Robinson as Mary Beth Medina, Daniela Pineda as Anais, J.K. Simmons as Raymond King, Robert Morgan as Burke, and Grant Harvey as Cobb. And before we get into things here, just briefly, what do you guys think of the movie? And we'll start with Marco.
I had some time to think on this because it's been a few days since I've seen it. I actually saw it with Mikey and James. Look at that.
Oh.
Yep. V rare.
Yeah, V rare. I was like, you know what? It's been a while. Let's do this.
We didn't know he was going to show up. He just rolled up. It was weird. I said,
I was like, "What's up, guys?" Didn't even sit next to him. I was sitting behind them. It's weird.
He's like, guys, want to see a movie with you?
Just kicking James' chair. It's like, hey, keep it down, man. No, it was it was a fun experience. The movie, as I thought about it, surprisingly, I've kind of liked it less. I had fun at the time with these two guys, and I think that experience made me like this movie. But in really thinking about it, I almost want to say, man, I like the first one better than this one. I thought this one was okay. It was mid. It's weird that it's at 77%. It is faster pace. It is more action. And I get that. That is really good. Parts of the plot, I think, is just what just rubs me the wrong way. Parts of it is just kind of tone deaf. Just lands tone deaf for me. I'm like, oh, man, this movie doesn't know certain things exist, but it's fine.
Okay. All right. James, what do you think?
I got to disagree with Mark. I thought this was slightly better than the first movie, so... I still had a good time watching this one overall. I think the faster pace helped this one. I like the dynamic between Christian and Braxton. It's the tonal shift, I think, in this film is much different from the first one. There's a lot more humor in it. There's a lot more of that brother connection. And I think the chemistry between the two leads really works out pretty well.
Nabil, how'd you feel?
Yeah, I'm echoing what James is saying. I love the dynamic between Ben Affleck and John Bernthal. The film is a bit more fast-paced, which is nice. There is some stuff that I'm not a big fan of, especially the core of the plot. I just don't understand how and why we even care, but we do. But as a whole, and we'll talk about the plot a little bit, but as a whole, the film is slightly better than the previous film. I do think that they're like on the right path of finding something really solid here. They're just some stuff that they're still using as filler for some reason, and I'm not sure why they feel the need to do that.
Yeah, I kind of echo what you guys said in terms of just in general. Braxton, I mean, I like John Bernthal in general. So just having more of him in the movie made me like the movie a little bit more. And I think it was James that said it, but just the chemistry between the brothers, it really works in this movie. And they kind of played on that a lot more in this movie than they did in the last one, since the last one kind of handled it through the flashbacks and such. Since this one, they're actually physically together a big portion of the movie. I feel like that worked a lot better. So I kind of echo a lot what you guys said here. But overall, I thought it was probably a little better than the previous movie, than the first one. But they're pretty close, in my opinion. So, Nabil, you mentioned the plot, and you kind of had something to say about the plot here. You said we were going to go over it a little bit later. What did you think about the plot, or what you want to say there?
I'm going to give it a little light spoiler, and mostly because it's kind of already given away, again, in the trailer. So
yeah, we're going to do light spoilers on this one. We're not going to dive too much into it. No.
Yeah. But
unlike the first one, by the way, obviously.
Yeah, we just went through the spoilers if you didn't watch it. Sorry, guys. So J.K. Simmons' character, we mentioned in the synopsis, he passes away. And so we have Mary Beth coming in to essentially find out why he died, what was going on. And Mary Beth calls in the accountant, and the accountant cares and is here to solve the mystery. And that's where I'm like, why does he care? I understand he was tipping them off for certain things, but why would he risk himself to go help, I guess, the Treasury? Not even the FBI, but it's technically the Treasury's financial crime division to solve this murder.
It's because he sees a photo and the guy reminds him of him. That's why, Nabil.
I guess maybe he just recognizes the kid and says he has a kindred spirit with the kid, and that's what it is.
He says he's like us.
He's gotta save the kid.
Because Professor X told me to find the rest of the X-Men.
We got to take him back to the mansion.
Yeah.
I feel like the whole plot is just, again, a reason for him to have a mystery to solve. But he also seems like, even at the beginning where they introduce him with Mary Beth and trying to figure out what the plot is, he kind of already knows what's going on and what he needs to do. So there wasn't a need for her to be there. She was just there, to move things along. So I think the relationship, having a reason to bring in John Bernthal and having them together and like that brotherly connection, like James was saying earlier, it was really good. And that was a strong dynamic. And then I feel it could have just been as easy as J.K. Simmons telling him, hey, this is my last thing. I know you've helped me out with this thing. And then the accountant decides to do it, brings in his brother, and they go off into an adventure. Like, that would have been fine. There was no reason to have anything else more than that, but we got what we got.
Maybe they wouldn't have explored some of the other characters as much, right? I think they're just trying to include the characters that we already know. They're kind of like fleshing them out a little bit more, if we will, So
they're trying to create that mystery out of it too, Nabil. Like, if they did that, then they'd have all the answers already. And the whole point is he's supposed to come in and take the pieces and be like, oh, you're not looking at it the right way, right? He says that to Mary Beth at one point, and then he fixes, or quote unquote, fixes the wall, right? And then changes how to look at it.
Exactly.
And out of nowhere, he's like, this is who we're looking for. It's dumb. Don't worry. I mean, once again, guys, Dad 2.0 film. This is Dad 2.0 film. Yeah, 100%. My parents they're going to watch this probably when it's on Prime. They're going to love this movie. I'm going to tell you right now.
Marco, what did you think about the pace or the action? What's your thoughts about that?
I enjoyed the action and the pace. It is faster. It is more upbeat and up to date. I think that I agree the dynamics between Braxton and Christian really carry the film, and those are really my favorite parts is them. The action between them I think is really cool. The levity as well too. There's a scene where Braxton has just completed a mission and he's talking to some random chick and you're wondering like what the hell's going on, and then it zooms out and he had just
so horrified, right?
Yeah, he just dead bodies everywhere. He just completed one of his hit missions and tried to have a normal conversation with the lone survivor that he let live.
Yeah.
And I think that really
it's
added
funny
to
that
it.
he gets like annoyed that she asked like, why do you think I would hurt you?
Yeah.
Right.
What have I done to make you believe that?
Yeah.
As he's like stepping over bodies, I'm like,
Yeah.
Once again, this is a spot where the dad in the audience like, he's right. He's right.
Right. Yeah. I think things like that in the story and the plot, I think helps the movie. But I just had problems with certain aspects of the plot, specifically Mary Beth Medina. She is the most annoying character in this movie. I agree with Nabil. She did not belong in the movie at all. They could have done this whole movie without her. She must have forgotten that she works for the U.S. government. And there are parts in the movie where they got to find the I guess the bad guys, and they got to hack into people's phones and stuff and the personal info and stuff. She's like, "You got to stop. We don't do this." And I'm like, "Guess you forgot what the Patriot Act is, right? You never heard 9/11, all right?"
She is like just continuing her like character for the first one.
It's so stupid. I'm like, I
10 years later.
I'm like, I don't think you're in the right career then. If you're not comfortable with doing this shit, you should probably find different, maybe work for the post office. I don't know. If you want to stay in government and not do this sort of stuff, we have cameras on the freeway, lady. What do you think you're doing? Like, relax.
I think you looked a little too into it, Marco.
Like, you never heard of Enemy of the State? I mean, did you not watch that movie? Anyway, it just bothered me that she just like she just kept complaining about everything that they were doing. Like,
it's a little
as if her agency doesn't do those things.
There was no teeth behind it, right? Because she was saying it. That's what bothered me too. Like that scene you're talking about where he was hacking the phone or whatever, and he kept telling her to stop, telling her to stop. Like, she didn't stop it. She could have at any time. There's just she was just complaining because it was immoral.
So like, she Willy Wonka it, huh?
Right. She added nothing.
Don't touch it. What are you doing?
Exactly.
Oh no.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
she added nothing to the plot.
Still.
Really, and I think that bothered me the most. I'm like, all right, can we
she
get her out of here?
She kind of disappears in the last 30 minutes. I'm like, did she disappear now? They're like, we got to do something with her.
She was in the movie. Yeah.
Like, sorry, you got hit by a stray, so we're just, or the girl tried to take you out. We're going to put you in the hospital now.
Yeah, and that was it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they did it because she was the first movie, and then, I mean, I agree. It didn't bother me as much as it bothered Marco, obviously, but it was definitely something where, I mean,
hurt my brain.
The whole movie's pretty ridiculous. Like, I mean, you could add 10 more things to this list that probably would bother me more than this.
Well, now that we're getting into characters here, I guess we'll go with James here, and we'll have you talk about the accountant and how he changed. And you can say if you didn't like something else.
He's a little more humor this time around. Like, even in the beginning, we get like a scene where he basically looked past how like a dating app works, and he's like, I did like the ideal things, but it doesn't. It is funny because it shows you, but like, yeah, if you're not a very impersonal person in real life, it's not going to matter, right? So even though you hooked all the fish, it doesn't mean you get to keep them all, right? So I thought it was funny. He's a little bit more, I think, because he's with his brother in this movie, there's a lot more scenes of him interacting with people, and I think it actually works. Action wise, it really works really well too. Between the two, at the end, there's a really good, I think that last gunfight scene's really good.
Shows that he was in the military as well, right? So
yeah, it's got some tactics.
Kind of bring that aspect a little bit. As they're working together. We went into a lot of the characters already here. I'll just leave it open. Does anybody have anything to say about any of the other characters that you want to talk about?
I will say that, what are they going to do with the kids? They saved them at the end. I was like, so where are you going to put them now? You're just going to take them back to like Juarez, or going to drive into Mexico City? You're not bringing them across the border.
Just drop them off. I'll be like,
so what did you do with them? They're going to drop them off the ice where they're going to get put in cages. They were going over the border.
They're in Mexico. Aren't they in Mexico?
They are.
Yeah, they're not going to ice. They're just going to drop them off like later, guys.
I was like, he said you're safe now.
Back to the cartel.
Find your families.
I don't know where you're
like, we only came here for one kid, not all of you.
Yeah,
it's kind of like when Watto and Qui-Gon came there. He wasn't looking to free the slaves. He just wanted Anakin.
Just the one kid.
Just freed Anakin.
He said, no. He's like, tell Kitster to slow down. I'm just taking Anakin.
I did think Daniela Pineda stuck out as Annie. She was pretty cool with her skill set, especially when she got in a fight with Mary Beth. I'm actually glad she won that fight. Not gonna lie.
It was a very that's like the sci-fi element of this whole one. It's a little Black Mirror.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where she just kind of shows up and just turns into the Terminator, pretty much.
Yeah.
From a lady selling flautas on the corner to breaking people's necks.
But that would be fine if we only had two scenes of her really kind of fighting, and one was with an untrained treasury officer. So it's like we didn't.
Yeah.
She was underutilized
I mean,
for what her.
that is the one where
superpower
they
is.
do tell more than show more, I guess, honestly, because they're like, oh, she got a line of bodies, but then you find out that once again their information is not 100% because even John Bernthal's like, well, not these two.
Right. Yeah, she's the John Bernthal in this movie where she's underutilized, but the scene she is in, she's pretty cool. She's in command.
She's good where she's at.
Yeah.
She kind of where she's like, I have to fight the programming, crying and shit in a Chinese restaurant. Chill out, lady.
The fucking Winter Soldier.
Basically, yeah, I kind of, yeah. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Don't say the code words.
It was. I'll bring up one more thing too. This one we do get a bigger picture of that the special school that Marco was talking about in the first movie, where basically there's a group of like 12-year-olds that are like super. I'm not trying to hold on. I'm not saying super autistic. I mean, like they're autistic, but they have like they use their powers for good. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying.
Their skill set, James.
They have the skill set, and they basically are helping the lady on The Voice. That's Christian's childhood friend from the school.
Same person.
And then you find they recast her
and
much younger person, by the way.
Yeah,
I was like, because they knew she's gonna have some more screen time. They're like, hey, we gotta, So they,
I like
that. It was cool though. It did remind me of like the X-Men though, in the sky kind of thing, where it's like, don't worry, we know everything.
Did you guys like that kind of took away from the mystery of who the mysterious person he was talking to on the other end was? Like, we knew it was.
Oh, I knew it wasn't just her doing this stuff because,
right? But I mean, like, do you feel like they really spent time on it? I don't know. I don't know how I felt about it. I feel like I liked a little bit more of the mystery of just saying that he's invested in it, but we don't need to necessarily see all the behind the scenes.
I think once again, it's the dad part of it. This is the scene where they're like, oh my God, these kids are amazing. Oh my God, they're so gifted.
Yeah, it showed their network was growing and really it sort of had to be, especially because of the types of missions that he takes.
And I think they're really trying to get that message across that like Mikey said, like it's not a weakness, it's like their super ability, right? It's like their superpower.
Yeah, it's shedding light on how how they're really smart in a certain area and they use it for good. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'll leave it open. Does anybody have anything else they want to kind of get into about the movie, the ending, anything? None?
You know what I don't like about the ending fight scene? Sorry, Nibble. Let me just take this real quick. Mm-hmm. I hate the CG gunfire.
Yeah.
It was noticeable. Yeah.
I noticed it because I know they didn't use real guns on set. I was like, don't get me wrong, sound is good, but I can always tell when it's like fake. I'm like, that's not a real gun. Especially just seeing Sinners like a few days before. I'm like, they use real guns in that one compared to this one. So that's one thing I just want to bring up. That's one little gripe I had.
No, I was gonna speak about two specific scenes and just more broadly. There was two like good brother connections that they really sat with between Christian Wolf and Braxton. The scene where they are on top of the RV in the RV park and they're just kind of shooting the crap together for a while and just talking. They got really close for a second and then it just got to Christian Wolf turning off again and just like being oblivious to the situation. So I like that a lot. And then I like the scene where they were at the country western club in LA for some reason.
Total dad scene. Total dad scene.
It's total dad scene. But I like that part where he's getting into a fight with somebody and he specifically says, "Oh, this is great. Now my brother's going to have some fun and eggs person on just so his brother can get." Like, I like that kind of idea of him saying, "Well, my brother's not having any fun over here. Let me bring him into this too and just let me kick their."
That's the scene where the dad's like, "Oh, see that kid? They're getting along."
Well, the Bill took the scenes I wanted to talk about. But I agree. Those are really good. And I agree with what James said that the gunfight, CG guns aside, was really well done.
It's really good. It's choreographed really well still, regardless.
Yeah, it is.
It's cool to it's something we wanted to see is them fighting together. We didn't get that in the first movie, so it's kind of cool to see them coordinated and see their training come into play and how
well they work off each other too.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's really cool to see the coolest aspect of that scene.
Yeah, I mean they're like shooting guns and then they stop and move the barrel, right? And they do that in sync almost every single time. It's really cool.
Or when he knows he's low, he throws him like the clip, and then they just keep going. Like there's no word spoken. It's actually it's really slick. Once again, a dad scene, right? Like look, they work so well together. You see that, son? That's a unit right there. I need help,
All right,
guys.
well, let's get into our ratings for the film and if we'd recommend it. And we'll start with James.
Get this one 3.5. Like I said, slightly better than the first one. I liked it. Mark and I talked the entire film. I apologize to everybody in that theater. I laughed way more at scenes that probably were not funny. I apologize.
It's always
we
fun.
kept making everything a fucking joke.
Well, Marco, what was your rating?
Haven't had that
I
in a
still
while.
give it 3 stars. I think the action, the pacing is a much bigger improvement. However, I think the plot still brings it down a little bit. You still you gotta turn your brain off for this one and just sort of like go in and have fun. Otherwise, it's just gonna hurt the whole time. I think it helps to see it with a bunch of people that are fun, like James and Mikey and the Billy Room. But overall, I think it's still a popcorn flick. You can still kind of kick back and enjoy it.
Yeah. Nabil?
Yeah, I gave this 3 stars as well. This one I actually would recommend you watching. I don't think you need to watch the first one. Don't watch this one.
And why did you give it 3 stars too then?
It's slightly better than the previous, but I don't think it's better enough to get it over to the 3.5. So I do think that
No, Marco can say that. He recommended both of them. Nabil said no in the first one. That should have been lower than 3. Like,
don't judge me on my
should have
rating.
been like 2.5.
Okay?
Should have been a 2.5 then.
I can give a recommendation in a film and say
I
that.
gotta change how we do ratings. I swear to God, dude. And we're not going back to 8 and 8. I'm gonna be like, would you rent this, buy it, or tell someone to watch it or something? I don't know. I gotta come up with something new. The stars apparently are just not working for Nabil.
They're working fine. Anyways, yeah, I think that it's a slightly better film than the other one.
It's got the same rating. That's cool. Mikey, what about you?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's slightly better. So I gave it 3.5, and I would recommend you watch it, especially if you watch the first one. You might as well continue on the story from The Accountant, and it's a decent movie. It's definitely, like I said, like Marco said, a popcorn flick. Just don't take it seriously. Go back, have some fun, watch a movie.
Yeah, get a good crowd with it. Thank you, everybody. That's the end of the podcast. We appreciate you all for tuning in. Marco, can you let them know how they can reach us?
You can listen and follow us on your preferred podcast platform. We are everywhere. For a convenient link to all our social media channels, visit linktree/moviepalspod. That's linktr.ee/moviepalspod. And remember, smash that subscribe button and you'll never miss an episode for this dad movie or the next one.
Plus, catch us on TikTok for sneak peeks of upcoming episodes and more exciting movie content. Follow us at MoviePalsPod.
Make sure to tune in for our next episode, podcast episode number 198, where we will be returning to our voyage into Star Trek with a review of Star Trek Beyond, as well as a review of a yet-to-be-determined new release.
Thank you, Nabil. Until then, this is James.
Marco?
Nabil.
And Mikey.
Have a great one.